On the evening of April 4, 2026, somewhere in the warm waters off Elbow Cay in the Bahamas, a woman went into the sea. She hasn't been seen since. Her name was Lynette Hooker, 55 years old, from Lenawee County, Michigan, a wife of 25 years, and now, a name on a recovery operation manifest. I'm here to walk you through what we know, what investigators are still piecing together, and why her family believes something isn't right. Brian Hooker says his wife fell from their 8-foot dinghy, that the keys went with her, that the engine died, that he couldn't save her. But Lynette's daughter says the marriage was rocky at best, that she doesn't believe it was an accident, and investigators, well, they arrested him, then released him, then watched him leave the country. This is an active case with no body, no charges, and a whole lot of questions. The Abaco Islands sit in the northern Bahamas, popular with American boaters. Crystal waters, picture postcard beaches, the kind of place people go to escape. Hopetown, where the Hookers were staying, is a small settlement on Elbow Cay, fewer than 400 people. Everyone knows everyone. Not much happens without notice. The Hookers had been married for 25 years, a quarter century, from Lenawee County in southeastern Michigan, about an hour southwest of Detroit. By all accounts, this was supposed to be a boating trip, time away from home. Time on the water. April in the Caribbean. Sounds idyllic, doesn't it? On the evening of April 4th, Lynette and Brian were traveling by dinghy from Hopetown to another part of Elbow Cay. It was getting dark. According to Brian Hooker, the waters were rough that night, conditions that would make any small boat unstable, dangerous even for an 8-foot dinghy. He claims Lynette fell overboard. And here's the detail that matters. She had the boat keys on her. When she went in, the engine shut off. With no power, Brian says, he couldn't maneuver back to her. Couldn't fight the current. Couldn't reach his wife as she disappeared into the dark water. Search and rescue operations launched immediately. Bahamian authorities, U.S. Coast Guard, helicopters, boats. They searched for days. By April 7th, just 3 days later, officials made a decision that speaks volumes. The search transitioned from rescue to recovery. That's not a small shift. When authorities move from rescue to recovery, they're saying they no longer expect to find someone alive. They're looking for a body. Then came April 8th. Brian Hooker was taken into custody by Bahamian authorities. Arrested, held for questioning. The investigation had shifted. When you arrest a spouse in a missing persons case before you've even found a body, that tells you something about where investigators' suspicions lie. But here's where it gets complicated. On April 14th, Brian Hooker was released. Bahamian officials said they had no evidence to hold him. No evidence, not cleared, not exonerated. They simply didn't have enough to keep him behind bars. He remains, according to officials, a suspect. And then Brian Hooker left the Bahamas. His attorney, Terrell Butler, told reporters his mother is very ill, that he needed to return to the States. His attorney says he plans to return, that he wants to continue searching for his wife. Time will tell if that happens. But it's what Lynette's daughter said that has captured public attention. Karli Aylesworth spoke to reporters, and she didn't hold back. Whisper? She said she doesn't believe her mother's disappearance was an accident, that their relationship, the marriage, was rocky at best. Rocky at best. Those are loaded words from a daughter describing her mother's marriage, 25 years together, and the daughter calls it rocky at best. Now, it's important to note, a rocky marriage doesn't prove anything. Lots of couples have difficult relationships. Most don't end in tragedy. But when someone vanishes under suspicious circumstances and their own child says the marriage was troubled, investigators pay attention. Juries pay attention. This case now involves multiple agencies. Bahamian police continue their investigation. But they're not alone in this. The U.S. Coast Guard has opened a parallel criminal investigation. When American citizens are involved in maritime incidents abroad, the Coast Guard has jurisdiction to investigate. That's 2 separate criminal investigations now. Bahamian authorities on their end, Coast Guard on ours. working the same case from different angles. International investigations like this are complicated, different legal systems, different standards of evidence, different protocols for cooperation. Extradition treaties come into play, diplomatic channels. All of it takes time, and meanwhile, Lynette Hooker's body still hasn't been found. The waters around Elbow Cay are warm, currents move steadily. In tropical conditions, bodies can drift considerable distances, or never surface at all. Without a body, building a criminal case becomes significantly harder, not impossible, but harder. You're relying on circumstantial evidence, witness statements, forensics from the boat. We don't know what evidence, if any, investigators have collected from that 8-foot dinghy. That information hasn't been released to the public. We don't know if there are witnesses, people who saw the Hookers that evening, people who might have seen something in the water, heard something, anything. What we know is what's been reported: an alleged accident, an arrest, a release, a suspect who left the country, and a daughter who says something isn't right. This is how maritime disappearance cases often unfold, slowly, with gaps. With more questions than answers, justice moves at its own pace. Brian Hooker, through his attorney, says he'll keep searching for his wife. That he wants answers too, that he maintains his account of what happened that night. Time will tell. Either evidence emerges that supports his story, or evidence emerges that contradicts it. Right now we're in the waiting period. Cases like this one highlight something important for anyone who travels by boat. Maritime safety isn't just about the big things, it's about the small details that can save your life. Consider wearing a personal flotation device whenever you're on small boats, even in calm water. Especially after dark, it's a simple precaution that could make all the difference. Waterproof communication devices matter too. An emergency beacon. A marine radio in a waterproof case. Something that stays with you if you go into the water. And here's something many people don't think about: keys. Consider keeping boat keys on a float, on a lanyard around your neck, somewhere they can't sink with you. If you have concerns about someone's safety, a family member, a friend, anyone, documenting those concerns may help later. Write it down, tell someone you trust. If you found this analysis helpful, consider subscribing. We cover cases like this regularly: the facts, the investigation, what we know and what remains uncertain. Lynette Hooker was 55 years old. A Michigan resident. A wife. A mother. Whatever happened in those waters off Elbow Cay, she deserves answers. Her family deserves answers. The investigation continues. Bahamian authorities are working the case. The Coast Guard is working the case. And somewhere, maybe, someone knows something they haven't said yet. That's how these cases break sometimes. Not with forensics. Not with confessions. But with someone who saw something deciding to speak up. If you have information about Lynette Hooker's disappearance, Bahamian authorities and the U.S. Coast Guard are both accepting tips. Every detail matters. We'll continue following this case as it develops. When there are updates, arrests, charges, new evidence, we'll bring them to you here. For now, Lynette Hooker remains missing. Her husband remains a suspect, and the waters off Elbow Cay keep their secrets. I'm going to leave you with the question her daughter is asking, the question investigators are asking, the question that hasn't been answered yet. What really happened on that dinghy on the night of April 4th? We may find out, we may not. But we'll be watching. Thanks for listening. I'm here every week, and until next time, stay safe out there. 25 years of marriage, one boat trip to the Bahamas, and now an active criminal investigation spanning 2 countries. The Hookers had built a life together in Michigan. A quarter century isn't nothing. It's graduations and holidays and thousands of ordinary days. But ordinary days can hide extraordinary tensions. And sometimes those tensions don't surface until something terrible happens. Karli Aylesworth, that's Lynette's daughter, has been the family's voice in the media. She's not staying quiet. She wants people to pay attention. And people are paying attention. This case has generated significant coverage. Michigan. National outlets. People want to know what happened to Lynette Hooker. Public pressure matters in cases like this. When communities pay attention, when families speak out, investigations sometimes move differently. Not always, but sometimes. The weight of public scrutiny can be its own kind of pressure. Brian Hooker's decision to leave the Bahamas raised eyebrows. Even if his reason, his ill mother, is genuine, the optics aren't great. Leaving the country where your wife disappeared, where you were just arrested, where you remain a suspect. People notice these things. His attorney says he'll return, that he wants to continue the search. Whether that happens and when remains to be seen. The U.S. and the Bahamas do have an extradition treaty. If charges are ever filed, legal mechanisms exist to bring someone back. But filing charges requires evidence. And right now, at least publicly, authorities are saying they don't have enough. That's the holdup. The search for Lynette's body continues. Recovery operations in open water are difficult. Currents, death. Time working against you. Every day that passes makes recovery less likely. That's just the reality of maritime incidents. The ocean doesn't give up its secrets easily, but investigations can proceed without a body. It's harder, but not impossible. Circumstantial cases have led to convictions before. What matters is the totality of evidence, the story the pieces tell when you put them together. What makes sense, what doesn't. And right now, investigators on 2 continents are trying to piece that story together. Looking at what they have. Looking at what they need. Lynette's family is waiting. Her daughter is speaking out. Her community in Michigan is watching. And somewhere out there, someone knows what happened on that boat. Maybe it's exactly what Brian Hooker says. Maybe it isn't.